All right, this is Greg meeting with Real Estate Legends. I'm so excited to have this interview with Barbara O'Connor of now Baird & Warner. Been a long time realtor and friend. And Barbara, where did you originally grow up?
So I live in the same neighborhood that I live in now. I've never moved out of it. I grew up in Hollywood Park on Bryn Mawr near Kimball, and then I moved on the other side of the river to Artesian in Bryn Mawr, and then I moved to Francisco near Bryn Mawr, and now I'm on Catalpa near Bryn Mawr. I went to St. Hilary's and St. Scholastica for high school,
Fantastic.
DePaul University, and Loyola for my undergrad, and Loyola for my MBA.
And so, what was your family dynamic? Like, what were your parents like?
So my dad was born in Iran, and we're Catholic. His family ran from the Turks in the early 1900s, came to the United States as a refugee, and always said you need to vote because we are so lucky with the freedoms we have in the United States. So I learned that from him. I also learned from him that, and I only say this in a positive way, you're never good enough, and meaning you always need to excel. So if the bar is set at 100 and you got to 99.9, he would say you need to get to 110.
I believe our souls need immensity
Yeah.
to be happy.
And that's what he did.
And that's what you do.
Yeah.
So what's your mother like?
So my mom was a lot younger than my dad. We didn't know it until I started looking at pictures, and she was probably around 24 years younger. Beautiful,
Wow.
Absolutely beautiful. My dad worked at the Chicago Athletic Club as the catering manager, and she was the elevator lady. So that's where they met.
And then how many children did they have?
My dad had 3 from an original marriage, but 3, I have a brother and a sister.
So you
And
have
I'm the oldest.
So you have 5, 3 step children with your
and,
dad.
yeah, and 3, 6.
And so when you were growing up, you had 6 kids in the house?
No, his first family lived in California.
Okay.
So it was really just the 3 of us.
Would you say it was sisters?
I have 1 sister and 1 brother.
Okay, cool. And where do you fall into that?
I'm the oldest.
Okay.
I'm the one who probably was I call the oldest the experiment with parents.
Of course, you gotta lead the way.
Yeah.
My brother did that. He broke the ice for
Yeah.
me, and then I was the crazy middle kid.
Yeah, and they were the children that were babied, and I was the one who had to excel.
So did you guys live in one of those bungalows?
We lived in a bungalow. As I said, I've lived in the same
Right.
neighborhood. I've never moved out. I've seen old people that were young when I was in school, and it's like, wow, they're old. And now I'm the old person, and people are probably looking at me as, wow, she used to be younger, and now she's older.
I still feel like I'm the kid in real estate.
I do too.
And been in it 38 years.
I
How
do
long
too.
you been in it? What year?
1991.
Okay.
Yeah, so almost the same.
So
Yeah, you were
that-
around. You were at Remax.
That's right.
Yeah,
That was
I
when
remember
Joe
that.
and I were in
Yeah,
that.
I remember
We had a
that.
lot of fun in that office.
Yeah, that was a great office.
So when was it that the light bulb went off to you that you might want to be a realtor?
So, for a lot of people that don't know me or do know me, my husband is an attorney, and I went to grammar school with my husband, so I've known him my whole life.
Come on.
We're childhood sweethearts, and we
It's a
got
love
married
story.
very young. I was 22, he was 23, and he always wanted to go into politics. Never said anything about what it was he wanted to go into, but we used to run, and he said, we passed an alderman's office, and he said, I said, well, what about that? He goes, no, I would never want to be that. It's the closest to the people. The person who was our alderman was somebody who was beatable, and his father said to him, you should run for alderman. I didn't know anything about politics. My father-in-law worked for the city of Chicago as a deputy superintendent. So my husband grew up a little bit with,
Understanding how the city
how
works.
it works. So he had somewhat of a mentor. He ran, he won, and
How old was he when he ran?
28.
Wow.
And
he was there forever, so.
For a long time, so.
How long?
36 years.
Wow.
So he was a baby. He was a baby, and when he started working, he made $27,000 a year, and we had 2 children.
Wow.
By the time we had 5 children, he probably was making $35,000 a year. and then maybe $50,000 a year, of which it wasn't enough money to live on. So you had asked about my mother. My mom, thank God for my mom, because the bills would come, and this isn't something that I'm lucky I had a mom who would help, but he loved what he was doing. And one day I said to him, I thought you wanted to, be a lawyer and be successful. And the one thing, and as I'm older now, that comes for anybody who's young, he said, I am successful. I said, well, it's hard to live with this job, because he didn't practice law. It was strictly, and he said, my success is what's in this home. He said, we have 5 children. And they were still young, but he said, success is based on how your life ends, not what your life is today. And I laughed, like, you gotta be kidding me. But it's true, as you get older, it's not,
You're philosophic.
It is, and I laughed at it, and I was a little bit probably upset about it. But he did what he loved, but at some point, I knew I had to go to work. I was a Catholic school teacher, so I made even less money.
What were you
teaching? At the time, business.
Nice.
And I was home for about 10 years, 8 to 10 years with the kids. And my mother said, Barbara, you need to do something. She saw that when you're home, I think I'm a better mom when I'm not at home. You'll hear a lot of women say that. I don't think
You appreciate it more.
You appreciate it.
You're not submerged in it all the time.
Right. So my Pat said, why don't you go into real estate? You go to the open houses. And I said, sell? I said, I have not 1 ounce of selling within my body, because everybody thinks real estate brokers are salespeople.
Yeah, we're going to hard sell something.
That's right, like a car deal.
No, we're facilitators. We're trying to help people.
Right. So I went and took the class. I didn't realize all you needed was a 70 even in the class. And I'd study all night long to think that if I didn't get 100, how could I expect good grades from my kids? Yeah. I mean, this is my dad and me. So I'd stay up at night. the kids, feed them, spend time, then study. And then what was I thinking? Really, it was stupid.
No, you wanted to be, that's how you became who you are, because you're very meticulous about the little things.
Yeah.
And you wanted to really strive and do it right.
Yeah, I guess I did so anyway. I don't even think I had planned to get a job. It was just, Barbara, you need to do something for yourself. I'm worried about you. It's like kids all day long, and it was stressful because my husband was out a lot.
5 kids, that's tough.
But out a lot too. So I didn't go to events with him. We didn't, because I stayed home with the kids. We didn't have the money for the babysitters. So, and I didn't want that. So anyway, I take the class. Never interviewed for a job, because I student taught, got the job at this place I student taught, never really interviewed. And I get a call from the local realtor. And I'm like, oh my God, somebody's calling me. I didn't even know you could interview. I call my brain mush brain.
You were naive. You just didn't know.
I was a kid.
That's it.
Well, I wasn't a kid by that age.
Well, but you still were naive to it,
Yeah.
and that's the beauty of it.
Well, I guess so.
To me, it is. It is like.
So when I went to this company, for those who don't know how the old days were, people were very territorial.
Oh God.
You didn't venture into their neighborhoods, and I lived in the neighborhood of the lady who was number 1 in the office that I perceived as making all of this money. So I couldn't even work the neighborhood. I was low man on the totem pole. There might have been 10 people.
You must have gone to the wrong office.
Well, I did. But what I did was I sat every one of her open houses. And so that was my way of getting into the neighborhood. My first year, I didn't make $1. In fact, I was paying a babysitter that we didn't have the money. My mother was giving it to us. And so it was like at 9 months, I had a brand new puppy that was eating my leg. I said, I am done after a year. I will not do this. Everybody that I met started to percolate. And year number 2, I made $50,000. Back in 1992, 93, that was a lot of money.
Oh yeah.
I had seen a top broker. In those days, the top brokers were doing about $13, $14 million. And I had seen one of the top brokers at a showing, and her head was shaking. and I won't mention names, she's still around, she's a wonderful lady, shaking like this. And I said that when my head starts shaking, I am going to hire an assistant. And in those days, you didn't have assistants. There were no teams. There was nothing like that. I think Mario Greco and myself.
I had an assistant.
Okay.
From 92 till.
So
I was definitely.
But it was unusual.
Very unusual.
Very unusual.
I would have 2 other people helping me.
Yeah.
And then I had people in my team, but I wouldn't run it like a team.
No.
I would just help them out,
That's
and they would
right.
help me out, like
Yeah.
Sean Glasgow,
Right.
Dawn Cunningham. I had a lot of.
So then we were kind of the beginners of the team because it was Mario Greco, you, and myself. We didn't. An assistant was something you didn't hear of. And so the second year, I made $55,000. The third year, they had a contest. If you made $100,000, and nobody there made $100,000, it was a small company, I was at $98,000. And I didn't want the bonus. It was a $1,000 bonus. The owner of the company says, we're raising it next year to 125. I said, I didn't even reach it, and you're raising it. And I thought, okay, I gotta get out of here. This isn't fair. This isn't right. You're like my dad, who it pushed you, but it's also something that you sometimes need that pat on the back.
You definitely need the pat on the back.
And it wasn't there.
Right.
So Baird and Warner tried getting me. Finally, the managing broker came to an open house because I truly believe in the open houses. And I found out I partnered then with that lady who made $50,000 every year, that I was making more than her, but we partnered. Not asking the right questions. My second year I made more than her, and here I'm thinking she's like the #1 person. So anyway, the managing broker came to an open house and he said, you could win a trip. Your numbers, if you come here, you can win a trip, because they take people on a trip. I'm like, this place I'm not getting a trip. I could buy myself a trip, but it's nice if somebody buys me a trip. I said, I think you said the right thing. So I left for Baird and Warner. However, he wanted to put me at a 70% cut. When I went there, I had 149 units at Walcott Village.
Nice.
And he said to me, well, that might not be what you're going to have next year or the year after. I'm like, I am not. 149 units. You're lucky if you sell 149 units.
No,
and so
yeah.
I was able to negotiate the top, whatever the top was at the time.
Probably 80.
Yeah, probably 80, or maybe it was 85. I don't even remember. Anyway, as I was sitting those open houses on Saturdays and Sundays, you know what developers look like. They come in their work clothes. So they would come like looking at this project, and I sold it in a year, which was pretty amazing.
So you met a lot of good builders.
And that's how I got the builders from a condo conversion. I never did a zoning change. People tried to say I did zoning. I never did a zoning change. My father would be bolts of lightning. My father-in-law, bolts of lightning.
Well, I'm sure people thought you were getting all your business from your husband.
Most of them don't. You know me.
I know the
People
truth of it
know
is,
me.
in real estate, you get it from hand-to-hand combat,
Yeah,
and
and
from a good
working
attitude. Just like you
7
said,
days
the
a
open
week.
houses. Some of my best clients, I got off open
That's
houses.
right.
I talked to them for an hour, and then one of the clients I've sold 10 properties with. We just
Yeah.
visited them in North Carolina. That's
Yeah.
the way it goes.
So it's hard work. It's long hours.
So then, when did you go to? So
I was at
then you went
Baird and
to-
Warner.
But I remember you came to Koenig and Straight for a while.
Okay, so I was at Baird and Warner for 11 years, and I was their #1 broker out of over 2,000 brokers.
Yeah, that Lincoln office. I
Yeah.
remember seeing you there.
Yep, I was the top 5 in the city for about 20 years.
It's intense. It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. And Chuck Goro, who was the managing broker at Koenig and Straight, tried getting me. And I went to lunch, and you're going to laugh, but he said, we have this trip that you could go on.
And we went out together to San Diego.
Yeah.
Remember, that was a fun trip.
And I was.
That was great.
So
trip.
And he understood development, so I.
Oh, he definitely understood
And
development.
you know what? It It was great. I loved
Well, that
it.
office.
That was amazing.
We were doing like $1.4 billion way back then.
And there were a lot of developing brokers, so you weren't alone. At Baird & Warner, I was kind of alone with
Plus, we
that.
had that weekly meeting.
Yeah.
Everybody would show.
Yeah.
We would laugh and joke.
We had fun.
We had a lot of fun.
We had a great time. So that's how I started, but I also knew that you're on a roller coaster. When you're doing that volume, over 200 units a year, I then had 5 assistants. Again, we didn't call ourselves teams because they didn't bring me any business, they worked the business. And still, there were a lot of people that didn't have assistants. The way the teams are today is totally different than how we started. And they, as I said, they worked my business, and I had it laid out that I worked every day, but I always had that shower. I had somebody doing my paperwork, I had somebody doing the accounting.
But you'd meet with the client, do the listing
Always,
report.
and I did the negotiating. Nobody ever, even on all my,
Right.
I ran 28 developments at one time. Nobody negotiated my deals. Nobody. I was always the face. I don't give up that power to anybody. When you're at that level, and I think one of the biggest mistakes realtors make is when they have a team, they give their power away. You don't have to give your power by giving everything, because that person who you've given them to then is going to start that relationship with
You know what's so
that
funny
person.
with me is, I love seeing the property. Now, I get tired of the single family and the condos, but like the multifamily buildings, I have to be there.
Yeah.
Because it's like something comes
It's
out
exciting.
of me. Seeing what it is, trying
Right.
to figure out, can you put a bedroom there? What can you do?
Right.
I can see into. I love the imagination part
Yeah.
of.
And
real
that's why I
estate.
love the developments, and I stopped for about 5 years. I have sold an awful lot of land in the last 5 years that people say, don't you have a developer? I said, there's only 2 that I really want to work with in today's world. And then I found a nice piece, so now I'm back to 2 developers. I want to keep it smaller. Developers are wonderful. I love working in bulk. I love being creative, you know, and saying, I don't think that's going to work, being part of the decision making. But it is hard work, and developers are hard to work for. You know, when
It
the
takes a
market
long
shifts, who do they blame? They blame you. And I've told them, after the bad economy, I said, I got tougher. And I said, you're saying I should be fired? I think you should be fired. Pull out the letter of what I told you we should price these at. You went 200,000 over. I think I'm going to call the bank and they should fire you. So after the bad economy, I knew I was done with them, a lot of them. And I'm very selective with who I will work with now, because they're great when it's great, and when it's not, they're beating your head and blaming you, and when they're not listening to you.
Right. Yeah, that's one of the great things about having a lot of things going on in this business. Because, oh, this person's ghosting you, this is happening, oh, they're on hold now,
Right.
it's hurry up, stop so often.
Yeah.
So you have to have a lot of things going on.
Yeah.
And so those things don't affect you so much.
That's right.
You don't want to sit there thinking about the person who's not acting appropriate to you.
Yeah.
I've got 2 going
You
on
gotta
right
move
now,
on.
and it's like,
You
let it
gotta
go,
move on.
let it go.
And I think that's an age thing too. You know what? As you are, not age in age number, but age in the business. At some point, when is enough money enough money? Your life isn't going to change. If you make 500,000, $1 million, $2 million, life doesn't really change at a certain point.
You know what happens to me is, we have the money in the 401ks.
Yeah.
And my wife will tell me, hey, I just bought more John Deere, or I did this. But you don't use that money.
No.
It's there in case we need it.
Yeah.
But you live your day-to-day life.
Yeah, you live it, but that's what I started realizing. I had so many things. I wanted to get back to the real estate community. During the bad economy, we had a lot of, I called them the dredges of the business. Where did these people come from? With the foreclosures and the short sales, I saw a dead rat, I saw a dead squirrel. I went into some place that there was no lights, I thought there were squatters maybe in there. We had, I thought, safety issues, that these brokers that came into the business had, they were just, get the money, get the money, get the money. And I went to every brokerage I was at that at some point I want to go into management. I have a lot of knowledge. I do residential resale, I do development, I do commercial. I'm an educator by trade. I was a teacher. I taught at United Airlines for a little bit, emergency procedures. That's part of my passion, to educate. Nobody would take me up on it, and Dreamtown took me up on it. And then they were technologically advanced, and I was raised on Lightning. You probably remember Lightning, the MLS. I never used the MLS when Lightning went away. I'd have my assistants do it for me. And now I'm going to this tech company as a managing broker, and I don't even know how to use the computer.
Well, but you should have people under you that do.
Well, no, I do know.
Right.
I had to learn. I mean, it was.
I remember when Frank Ballone, who was our manager at Remax, he called us into this big meeting and he's like, okay, today's the day we're gonna learn how we're gonna communicate different between each other.
Mm-hmm.
We've got these two different things. One's called an email and one's called a website. And we all start talking over it. And he's like, would you guys shut up a minute? Let me explain this to you. And he went through this whole thing and he's like, this is a CRM. You can put your people in that. Now the people.
So he was ahead of the game.
The people that are going to embrace this stuff are going to do very, very well. The people who don't are going to fall by the wayside. And we did so much business in that office. And you know, Chuck Goro was such a good salesperson that he had me leave a place that I was selling 50 properties a year.
Yeah, you were a big hitter.
We had this thing called the Platinum Club, where you gross $250, you win Platinum Club.
Yeah.
And I was getting it by March, and if it was by May, I was pissed. And Larry Bernstein would tease me, he got it by February, and we'd always like banter and fight. But I never wanted to get it where I had too many people, because I always wanted to be in the front dealing with the buyers and sellers.
Yeah.
That's probably not the smartest thing, really. I mean, it grounds you down.
It worked for you.
It did work, and then I took a little hiatus where I didn't work as much real estate. I worked at another company for a while, and that made me really appreciate real estate that much more. So I think with you too, this movement, you know, how long have you been a manager?
So I've been at Dreamtown for 15 years.
And you've been managing the whole time?
And managing the whole time.
And selling?
Well, no, I didn't start with selling. I didn't want to sell. I needed to get off the roller coaster. I needed to, it wasn't about the family. I would sit my family, for those of you who have families, which a lot of brokers do, I would sit my kids down and my husband in the family room and say, I will quit tomorrow. And they would, no.
We like the income.
But I said, we can't have, they played hockey, so I have 4 that played hockey on 2 teams. That was travel and then their high school.
That was a mortgage.
We can't do that. We can't go on trips. You can't do this. You can't do, no, you wouldn't be happy. So I always put them first. They were always number 1.
When did they come into the business to help you?
So, so my daughter Hillary, who is a partner of mine now, she worked for me in law school, and I fired her. And the next day,
She's tough.
said, "You're
She's tough. I know her.
She's an attorney mind. She is black and white. She gets from A to Z like that. I get to Z. It might take me 10 minutes, but I'm warm and fuzzy. And
That's better.
You know,
Warm 'em up.
I'm empathetic, and she's like, boom. Anyway, the next morning, she's in bed sleeping. I'm like, get up. You got to go to work. You fired me. I said, get up.
You're rehired.
So anyway, so she started with me, became a lawyer, practiced. Then she was having children, and she was at a very man-oriented law firm that said things. She probably would have had a lawsuit, and I said, just come. So I didn't start to, when I was doing this, it wasn't to sell. I really needed to be done. So I partnered with somebody. You know who I partnered with.
Yep.
Totally, if I have any advice for anybody, interview to see if your mission statements and your visions are the same. It doesn't mean that one person is better than the other. It means, do you gel?
Yeah, it's not even right and wrong.
It is, no, it isn't.
Different.
It is different, and you know, what is their goal? What is your goal? My goal is, I don't know what I'm doing next day to the next day. You know, other people are more systematic. I have systems, but they're in my head. And so I realized soon into being a managing broker that my clients were calling me. I didn't do any advertising for 1 whole year. And I had more people calling me. And they would go out with the gentleman I was giving my business to. He would say, so we saw 2 homes, which one are you buying today? And they felt pressure. And so I realized that I couldn't lose what I built. So I went to the owner and I said, you know what, I think I'm gonna go back into real estate. He said, Barbara, you can sell, but you gotta be in the background. You can't have the numbers. that you're producing. You can't sit open houses. So I did that for a while, and then other managers were hired that sold, and then it was like, okay, they're doing it, I'm out there. The best thing I will say is, I know how hard it is for the brokers. I don't compete against brokers. I've only had 2 situations where we went for the same thing and I walked away. I know how hard it is out there. I know that they're losing deals every single day. I know how to win deals. I think I can tell people a lot of things that help them that most managing brokers can't.
So most people think that we're all in competition with each other.
We're not.
And we're cooperating with each other.
We
It's
love
very
working
rare.
with people we know.
It's very rare that like I'm going to get a call to go on a listening
Yeah.
presentation and there's going to be 3 or 4 people. And I've had it many times where I have competed with people and I've gotten the feedback that y'all basically said about the same thing. You guys are from the same era. You pointed out more things about my house or whatever it is. But we really cooperate. And that's one of the wonderful things about our business, that it seemed like before we were all tight as thieves. And now it's gotten a lot tighter and tougher after the pandemic,
Yeah.
and just the mean-spiritedness I think we have
Things
in
have
America
changed.
right now.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah.
When I'm going up against people, I never asked until I was told I didn't get it, but you had the best presentation, and they would say, well, we don't get you. So I'm always learning. I always say, when you stop learning, you're dead. So
Right.
I always want to learn from, I don't look at a loss of something as a mistake. It's, okay, how do I do better? But the one thing I will say is when I know who I'm going up against, because people will tell you, I'll say, oh my goodness, you have a really tough decision. You got 3 great brokers and it has to be about you. And a lot of times I win them because I'm not looking greedy. I'm not trying, I always will say, you know what? It's the communication between the 2 of you. And if it doesn't work, with me, I wish you nothing but the best.
Well, and it's unbelievable how some brokers act. There's this one woman who literally will call the people and say, if you list with them, I'm going to blackball you. I'm going to make your life miserable.
That's an ethics violation.
Oh, it's totally an ethics violation. But you know what? I know a broker that took the escrows when she owned a building, and she paid her taxes with it and couldn't and she didn't lose her license.
Well,
So if she didn't lose her license, I doubt that, that's one of the tough things. Who polices all this? Like all these new laws too.
well, I sit on professional standards, and it's really interesting how, it's really interesting, and you have to complain. People don't get in trouble if somebody doesn't complain.
My father got 2 people's licenses in problem.
But because he said something.
Well, no,
A
he
lot of-
said up front, he warned them, what you're doing is legal and wrong, and I'm watching. And then they do it again, and then he'd go after them.
And he did
And I was
it
like,
right.
Dad, that's crazy. You're taking so. No, they're not following the rules. We have to up the professionalism in our profession. It's supposed to be a profession, not just a job.
Yeah.
And so
It's not a job, it's a career,
It's a
I call it-
career.
Yeah, I call it a life, oh my God, what do I call it?
it takes you over.
No, it is, it's not, it's your life, it's, I'll think of what it is, because I do some teaching, and this company gave me the opportunity to do
So
some teaching too.
Your daughter works with you?
So I have another daughter also that
That's what I
works
thought.
with me. So she was my assistant. She started at Koenig and Stray, working for another team. And then when I came over to Dreamtown, she came with me. So she's been with me 15 years and never wanted to work the weekend. So I have one daughter that will tell me, I don't want to be you, meaning like the crazy
Yeah,
running.
doing it all.
And then I have the other one that would say, I don't want to work weekends, I don't want what you had. And then she surprised us about 2.5 years ago. She has her license, and I say she's my left and my right arm. She's
Phenomenal.
an amazing assistant when she was the assistant, and now she's a partner. And I bring her, everybody knows her, and everybody loves her. And some of the attorneys, when she was my assistant, that I've given a lot of business, tried stealing her. I'm like, are you kidding me? You're kidding, all the business I give you and you're trying to take my assistant? So I'm very lucky. I can trust them. The family dynamic, it's hard sometimes working with family, especially somebody like me,
You're tough.
I'm tough. But then I become the mom, okay? You got kids. it's interesting.
You know, I try to do it. I try to parent all of my clients.
Mhm.
I can't even help it.
Yeah.
I look at them as if they are my kids in a way,
Oh,
or
you
like
have
my
to.
parents. You know.
That's the trust.
You know, what would you do here? Well, I would clean all the windows. I don't think they've been done in about 10 years. How about the caulking? You know,
And you do it in a joking way.
yeah, like,
And they're
yeah.
laughing.
Oh, did you put the paneling up? The new paneling? Yeah. Did you do
The
that?
1960s?
Yeah, the 90s paneling in the 80s?
Yeah,
That's great.
yeah. Yeah, you could get away with that. I don't think, unless you're a comedian female, I don't think a woman could get away with that.
I think that you get to a certain echelon, and all those female brokers are so good, and they're talented, and they're finesse, and they know how to read people, and
Yeah.
they're chameleons. And I remember seeing Joanne
That's
one
the
day,
mom.
and I said, Joanne, you're crushing it this year. And she said, you know what, being a top producer is not all it's cracked up to be. Greg.
No.
Be careful, because if you get too many sales, it's daunting. And then it was like 3 years later, and I could totally relate to what she's saying. I'm working from 8 o'clock till about 10 o'clock. And that was nothing compared to like someone like Sean Conlon.
I used to work till 3, wake up at 6.
Or you know who was always in the office was Jim Kramer.
Yeah.
Remember him?
Yeah.
I would go out and come around, and then I'd go back to the Kidding History office and look in. It's 10:30 at night. He's
Yeah.
still like bang on the window.
Yeah. I will say that the new crop of brokers, they do work differently, but they do work smarter. Now
Yeah.
you have teams, that you have people who can help you, or you can ask people in the office to show the technology. The numbers that people are doing, hundreds of millions of dollars. It's the technology that's helped them. You have to be ahead of the game. Matt Laracy, knowing that Zillow was the future, got on that bandwagon before anybody knew what it was. So you always have to be cognizant of what you're seeing the future to be, like the short sale people. Where
Oh,
did
yeah.
those people come from?
They were smart.
But they
had
saw,
bank connections.
and they got into it, and where are they now? They're probably not selling real
Or
estate.
how about the brokers that you have a cash offer, full price or better, and they won't present it until next Tuesday after the open house?
Yeah.
You want to reach to the phone and grab them.
Mhm.
You want to go to their client direct and say, do you realize this? And then on a couple occasions, I told them, I don't think you're going to be in the business that long if this is the way you treat people. Like really. And a few of them aren't in the business anymore.
Yeah.
And
Well, I do teaching, I do a lot of teaching, and I'll say your reputation is everything. You screw up one time, that reputation follows you.
well, I know probably 15 different times where it was multi-offers, and my clients got it because I was there. Not because I'm so great, it's because the other people knew.
They knew.
Just like when I started getting the referrals from all the RE/MAX agents, like Honor Fermentino, she was my salesperson. She gave me 20 different leads, and everybody in the Deerfield office used me. And she'd say to them, not only is he smart, fun, and all over it, he'll pay you for sure.
Yeah.
He cares about you more than he does his own commission.
Yeah.
And if you have that attitude,
You have to have that attitude.
yeah, we'll get taken care of when we've taken care of
Yeah.
everyone.
Oh, for sure.
And that's the way I've always tried
No,
to do
you have
that.
to. You cannot be looking in your pocket. You
So
can't
now,
be taking
with
care of
this
yourself.
future, you're excited about this new
Well, I'm back
play.
at Baird and Warner. I loved being at Dreamtown. I was the president, so I had a lot of input. I helped the company grow. You know, I was brought on to change their, to bring in brokers. And he gave me a challenge the first year, the owner, and I far surpassed it because I have that competitive brain. I helped open the Evanston office with the top broker in Evanston. I opened the Vaughan office with the top broker in the area. And so, you know, am I excited? I'm excited for change. I'm excited for hopefully growth. I hope they will put up with my mouth because I
But you're
I voice
sincere,
my-
you're voicing an opinion is right.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not what you say, it's how you say it. So
Yeah.
maybe you could soften it up for them.
Yeah, and I
But-
think I do that well.
I think you
I
do.
think I can do that well.
I grew up in Highland Park and Highwood, and in Highland Park, and my dad was always a broker, but Baird and Warner and Koenig and Stray were the big names that always
Yeah.
put me, you know. and
Yeah.
I always looked up to Baird and Warner, and actually my first wife worked at Baird and Warner.
Okay.
And I met her at this establishment, and she was a bartender, and I told her, tomorrow I'm coming to your office, and you are gonna get a listing. She goes, how are we gonna do that? I said, you're gonna call people. You're just gonna call people out. Yep, we're gonna call people out of the blue, and we're gonna have fun with it.
Yeah.
I went there, and I made like 4 calls. I got an appointment. She's like, that's unbelievable. I go, now it's your turn. She calls the first one. She calls the second one, and it's a little old lady. Talks to her for 20 minutes, and the woman says, hey, you should talk to Mr. Becker across the street. He's building the
Yeah.
house. She called Becker. He had him over. He loved her. She got 5 listings from Becker
That's the
and
old school
never
way.
made another call the rest of her career.
Because she had good pocket money there.
And I told her, that's when you go 10 times harder.
That's right. You have to have thick skin.
You do have to have a thick
And
skin.
you can't, I remember crying the first year. I would take people out. I wrote offers, but I had nobody teaching me how to write offers. I wish I still had them for class because they weren't written correctly. I know that. And you hustle. You have to have something. For me, what made me work so hard was I had to pay for everything. High school, I went to a Catholic school. When I turned 16, I had to pay the tuition. College, I had to pay. I didn't have any social life. I went to school, went to work at the Board of
Wow.
Trade, worked full day time in the summer. I didn't want that for my children. I wanted them to work, you know, every child should work in the summer when they're off, when they're of age. But I didn't want them to start out with bills and debt. And so my goal was to make sure that we had income, so my mother didn't have to help us with bills, but also that they started their life, and I have 3 lawyers in the family, a mechanical engineer, and then Claire, who is now a real estate broker. So we did a great job. They all moved within 2 blocks of me, so I know I didn't.
Kept them close.
Yeah, but I mean, they chose.
That's
But,
great.
that was my goal. Any of their education, that if they continued soon after college, right away, I paid for, or my husband and I paid for it. That's what was so important. So I had that goal in front of me, and it was what kept me working so hard so that I could provide for them what I didn't have. You know, I don't blame my parents. They were very middle class, maybe a little bit lower than middle class, and I am who I am because of them. I appreciate what they did. Raising the bar every time, I think if you talk to a lot of top producers, their greatest strengths are their greatest weaknesses. And so, I watch one of my children, she's very much like me, run, help everybody, do everything. And I look at her and I think, that used to be me. And you know, I'm so proud of her, but you look at your kids in a different way, like, why are you doing it? You don't have to do that. But she's very much like me. So, you know, it's fun. You do what you want.
My younger one would be a great realtor,
Mhm.
but I think that would give my wife a heart attack.
Yeah.
She might.
You have to have the people around you love you, and you have to keep them part of the decision making. You know, it's funny because there is a very, very good realtor, a husband and wife team, amazing realtor, that they advertise with their children. And I used to not want people to know, they knew I had children, but I never told them when I was at the sports. I wanted them to feel number one. And now, this is where the younger people are smarter. They share almost sometimes too much sharing, I think, but they share their life. Whereas I think our generation, and I'm older than you, Greg, our generation in this business, you shared it, but for me, there was this boundary. If I'm at every game of my kids, they're gonna think I'm not working.
Right.
I didn't go in my backyard.
I never admitted I was going to the Grateful Dead all the time.
I didn't go in my backyard because I didn't want people to think I wasn't working. I mean, it was crazy. And now the younger brokers, they want you to know. The social media, you're seeing what they eat. You're
I'll
seeing
tell you though,
everything.
there's a couple brokers, actually, one I'm thinking of in my office, where she puts out these really professional, nice things, and then she'll put out something that's like, to me, crazy, pretty much totally inappropriate, like, it's the same audience,
Yeah.
what are you doing?
Yeah,
But I guess that's part of this, is showing your personality.
yeah,
You know, the bottom line, and I think one of the reasons you're so successful is you're honest, you're trustworthy, you're hardworking, and you really care about your clients.
I do.
And so that comes across, they know it, so they use you as their advisor.
Yeah.
And I've had a lot of people in my offices not only coming to me for real estate advice, but then life advice.
Mhm.
And I think we're at that point of our life where we can tell them honestly what we're
Yeah.
thinking, and a lot of people won't tell the
No,
honest.
they won't. I will
Right.
say this, with having children, you have children, they're your number one. You could lose
No.
your spouse.
Spouse.
I mean,
Spouse
your family.
goes here.
Yeah, but your
Kids
family.
could go right here,
Yeah.
or they could go down here, in my
Uh-huh.
opinion, depending on how they treat your spouse and everything else. I
Well-
love my kids. They've
Yeah.
been the best thing that ever happened to me in my life, but I put my wife.
No, I
way
meant
up.
my husband. It's the
Right.
family is number one.
But I agree with you.
And you have to make sure they're happy with this because it is a lifestyle. It's not a job, it's not a career, it's a lifestyle. And they have to be on board and you have to respect them. My husband gave me the best advice when the phone would vibrate and we're in the car and we're having a conversation and I pick up the phone and I start talking and he's still talking to me and he looks over and he says, "That is so rude." He said, "Barbara, we both have very busy jobs. That is so rude." He said,
And this
"I'm
is our
talking."
time.
And you pick up the phone and don't say, "Excuse me." So you have to listen to what your family says to you.
Oh,
You have
believe
to
me.
watch what
How many
they
times
say.
I got that?
It is.
You remember Lee Harris? His daughter's first words were, "Wait a minute." Because he was always taking the phone, wait a minute.
Yeah. And my daughter Hillary, my oldest, I could come in the house, my big thing was shoes were all over the place. Now there's a closet right there. I don't care if you throw them in. Shoes all over the place. And they're book bags.
Yeah,
I would
they're
come
true.
in and say, "Can't you put," and then the phone would ring and, "Hello, Barbara O'Connor." So she goes, "You gotta listen to your kids." She would say, "You are such a phony. You're yelling at us." And then, "Hello, this is Barbara O'Connor." And, they put you in your place. And
Right.
you have to listen to them because they are the people you live with.
Here's the bottom line. You think you're evolved, and then you have a conversation with your child,
And they
and you
knock you
realize you are not evolved at all.
No. The other thing I will say is, the one thing I think we are very successful parents. They wanted to live by us. That 5 kids wanting to live by you, but we didn't make it about us. If I could give other advice to young families, it was never about us. If I won awards, it wasn't like, "Oh, look at mom," or if my husband was on TV, it wasn't about us. It was about the kids and what they accomplished. And I think so many people take this profession. We make more money than we probably could ever make in any other profession. A Catholic school teacher. I had never in my wildest dreams thought I would be making more than $30,000. I didn't realize the competitiveness, the nice competitiveness in me. But it's kind of funny money sometimes. You're not the be all end all. And when I see the attitudes of some people, like they're so busy. Oh, I'm so busy. Really? Everybody is busy. Take a back seat.
Take a deep breath.
Take a deep breath. But your kids are they are the focus.
Well, how long are we going to be here? I mean, if we get another 20 years, we're lucky. Like, so.
Yeah, exactly.
We're getting down to the
We're
ticks.
telling our age here.
Well, we're getting down to the ticks.
Yeah.
And you want to really have a
My
good
cousin
attitude.
does it the fourth quarter, and it's not looking that good. That's what I said.
Well, I was always an athlete, and I feel like the athletics is a great thing
Oh,
for
for sure.
sales.
Yeah.
You get knocked down, you get back up,
Yeah.
you compete to the end,
Yeah.
you try really hard,
Yeah.
you let go when you have to.
You have to, and you don't need to be braggadocious. You do it because you want to do it, and everybody knows what you do. Just focus on what's important, and keep it to yourself.
So if you were gonna pick a couple people, you'd say, these are people that changed my life in real estate. Was it a speaker like a Brian Tracy?
No, I could tell you exactly who it was. The person who was shaking her head was Judith Vogel.
She did 62 units a year,
and
like it was nothing.
And she's lovely. I love Judith, but when I didn't know her at the time, she was on a showing and she was shaking. That's when I said, back then, $8 million of $100,000 and $200,000 deals, you were doing a lot of real estate at $8 million. She probably was at $13 million at the time. And I said, when my head is shaking.
She worked hard though. Just like Emily Sachs Wong when she was at King and Straight,
Yeah.
the way she would run around with buyers, it was just like, what?
Yeah, no, but I watched, so for me it was at 8 million.
And Eunice is still doing it.
Yes, she is. So I think, she doesn't know if I've never told her this, but for me it was when I reached 8 million, my head started shaking. I knew I needed, at that time, you didn't have assistants, so I partnered with who I thought was making more money than me to find out she wasn't. So I will say Judith Vogel, Marty Corcoran, Northwest Side. Marty Corcoran was at Century 21 when you had a deal and you had to go to the office. Look how easy these people have it nowadays. We had to go to the office or go
We
to
had
the
to present
hall
all the offers.
and present the offer.
With 3 or 4 brokers that are waiting.
Exactly. And so she would come in with her regular clothes. She had her yellow jacket up on the hook. She put her Century 21 jacket with all her awards. She was a professional. And I have said it to Marty, you are who I want to be. I wanted the professionalism. I wanted to know that my family, the shaking that's not a good feel when you're shaking.
I remember stopping her on a showing and I kind of pissed her off because I said, Eunice, my clients know what a closet is. They have to point that out. They know windows and they know kitchens and baths. Let's just let them see the house. Yeah. She was so pissed off because she wanted to lead you to the finish.
Yeah.
Because you were gonna miss the end.
And she's a great broker.
She's an unbelievable broker.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you think back on that old Rubloff.
Yeah.
I don't know.
A powerhouse.
Remember that? Like Fran Prio.
Mm-hmm.
You just
Fran Prio, the queen.
Oh God, she was funny.
Yeah.
And the other great one was Belliard Gordon.
Yeah.
Like Diana Belliard. She was such a great lady.
Yeah.
I remember I went there to interview, and what was her name? Greg, why would you come here to work with us? Sylvia. And I said, you're right. I'm out of my mind. I'm not going to do this. See you later. Sorry, Diana. Because I just had to deal with her, and she loved me.
I don't know who Sylvia was.
Oh, Sylvia Gordon. Belliard Gordon.
Yeah, now I know. It's just, and then I'd say, who would be another person that, Ed Jelenic. Ed Jelenic at Properties now, Caldwell Banker, the most organized. When he presented an offer, he's one of the only first people that had every player. I thought, I'm going to do that. I still to this day haven't done it. But I loved his organization, and when you had a deal with him, I haven't had one for a long time. I just always loved having him on the other side. So I would say those 3 people are people that I have learned from a lot. I've learned a lot from a lot of people, but I'd say those are the 3 that stick in my mind that help make me be who I am.
It really is amazing how we all affect each other and you work around them. Like when we were at King and Straight, working around art, colossal.
Yeah.
We had so much fun going
Yeah.
back and forth with the different
Yeah.
properties and trying to figure,
Yeah,
just all of
everybody
it.
shared there.
We share a lot.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting, the first, when I was at Baird and Warner, the managing broker was this family, people would cry in the office. It's like, what are people crying in the office for? Then when I was with Chuck Oro, totally the opposite. So he had a glass wall, if you remember.
Oh, yeah.
And his body was like this. He wasn't where he was welcoming you into the office. He made you think. That's how I felt when I first started. I'm like, the other guy was like wanting to know everything, and this guy is just kind of like, his body language is this way. But you had to learn sports. I have athletic kids. You had to talk his language.
Well, he was a great athlete, and I got to know him really well because I went to all of his son's football games and basketball games,
Yeah.
but all the football games.
Yeah.
And I said to Chuck, that's the 4th time you've talked to her. He goes, oh yeah, I'm never going to hire her or tell her she can come, but I'm not going to tell her no. So I said, so you just keep, he goes, I have him come, I listen to him, I go through it,
Yeah.
I tell him we'll see, and I let him go.
Yeah.
And I've already talked to 5 people here, and they're not going to get hired because
Yeah.
they're not right for her. So
Yeah.
he had a big office, but he knew the community well.
Well, he had a great community. But what he taught me, that I pulled from managing broker, was let the broker think about it for a while, and they will come up with the answer. So when people call me, if I don't answer it, I'll wait a half an hour to call them back. And by the time I call them back, and this is because of Chuck Oro, it was, I have it, I figured it out. I'm like, great, what did you figure out? What was the problem? That's the right answer. So I learned, what I took from both of these managing brokers was I loved, let them think that you are all independent. They're smart people. Let them see if they can come up with the right answer. And I'm there to help. And the family dynamic, I love that. I just didn't like the crying in the office. So I think what I bring to the table is I'm a good combination of the two.
Well, you're a business person too.
Yeah.
You have a good business mind, and you're
Yeah.
really trying to show
So you
people
have
how to.
to, you have to.
How about when someone brings you an offer and it's just filled out all wrong? They didn't put your name on it, this and that. It's something, like, I just like my paperwork to really look professional and right, and I feel like everyone should. And so often I get offers like
So I was that person. Remember my first year where I was at the small mom pop? I wish I had them. I come from a place where we all began. And unless you were at a company that trained you, you know, I wasn't at a company. So I don't want to ever let somebody feel that I'm making fun of them. I get aggravated, like, what kind of company are you at that they don't train you? You're at a big company in this. But I also
you can't put in a company a lot of times.
Oh,
It's not the tool, it's the carpenter. You
well,
know,
no, there's training, and if they choose, the big companies train.
I got trained by a big company. When I went to write my first contract, the gentleman who I was selling the building to, he goes, you haven't done this before, have you?
Yeah.
And I said, no.
See,
He goes,
you've been there.
I'm a lawyer. I'll help you.
See,
okay, of course I've been there.
So
That's why I help everybody all the time.
And I'll look at it and I'll say, you know, you didn't fill that out. You know, you didn't fill that out. Or, you know, I try to be sympathetic. Now, I'm not going to tell them the price by any means, you know, I'm negotiating. But I have a little more sympathy. And because I do teach that stuff, because I know brokers do what you say, I don't want the brokers where I work to be those brokers.
So everyone, do you see what I mean? Why we wanted Barbara to come talk with us? Isn't this an exciting, fun interview? Maybe we'll have to do a part 2 sometime.
Part 2 will be retired.
Well, we'll go see her on her boat or something, or maybe while she's golfing.
Yeah.
But we'll go to a party at her house and interview her there.
That's what I have tonight, a party at my house.
Okay, well, Greg Feedy signing off with Barbara O'Connor.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you so much.